when the galaxy announced war, Earth's smile said everything. Part 1, The Declaration. The enormous ship appeared without warning. One moment, the space beyond Neptune's orbit was empty. The next, a vessel larger than Manhattan hung there, its dark metal surface absorbing light rather than reflecting it. At Mission Control in Houston, alarms blared as sensors detected the massive object. Director Susan White stared at the main screen, her coffee mug forgotten in her hand. "Get me Admiral Wilson," she said, her voice steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. Within an hour, Admiral James Wilson stood in the White House Situation Room. The president and her cabinet looked to him for answers he didn't have. "The vessel hasn't made any aggressive moves," Wilson reported, "but its size alone is concerning. We've detected smaller craft launching from it, but they remain close to the mothership." "Have they responded to our hails?" The president asked. "No, Madam President." "Not yet." Dr. Eleanor Reed rushed into the room, her tablet clutched tightly in her hands. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, she had been analyzing the strange signals emanating from the alien vessel since its arrival. "They're broadcasting." "Madam President," she said, slightly out of breath, "it's a message being transmitted in over 50 different formats." I think they're trying to make sure we can understand at least one of them." The president nodded. "And can we?" "Yes. 3 of the formats are similar enough to human language structures that my team has been able to decode them." Dr. Reed hesitated, her expression grim. "It's a declaration of war." The room fell silent. "A what?" The Secretary of Defense finally asked. "A formal declaration of war against Earth, from something called the Galactic Concord." Dr. Reed placed her tablet on the table and projected the translated message onto the main screen. The message was brief and direct. "To the governing bodies of the planet designated Earth, the Galactic Concord, representing the united civilized species of the galaxy, hereby declares a state of war exists between our authority and your world. Your rapid technological advancement and inherently violent nature have been deemed an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Prepare for subjugation or elimination." No one spoke for several long moments. "They haven't even met us," the Secretary of State whispered. The president's face hardened. "Get me Ambassador Grant. If they want formal declarations, we'll respond formally." Thomas Grant had represented Earth in its limited dealings with the few alien species humanity had encountered since developing faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. Those encounters had been peaceful, if somewhat distant. None of those species had mentioned anything about a Galactic Concord. Within 12 hours, leaders from every nation had gathered for an emergency summit. Panic spread through cities worldwide as news of the alien vessel leaked to the public. Military forces around the globe went to their highest alert status. Though everyone understood that if the aliens' technology was as advanced as their ship suggested, Earth's defenses would be woefully inadequate. "We need time," Admiral Wilson told the assembled leaders. "Time to prepare, to evacuate key personnel to the Mars and Luna colonies, to ready our orbital defenses. The Concorde vessel has launched what appears to be a diplomatic shuttle," announced the aide who had just entered the conference room. "They're requesting permission to land at the United Nations headquarters in 1 hour." The world leaders exchanged glances. "They declare war and then want to talk?" said the Russian president. "Perhaps it is their custom," replied the Indian Prime Minister. "We know nothing of their protocols." The President of the United States stood. "Ambassador Grant will meet them, with full military honors and security." "And what exactly will Ambassador Grant say to them?" asked the Chinese president. The American president's expression was unreadable. "He'll buy us time." The alien shuttle landed precisely where directed on the UN Plaza in New York. It was sleek and silent, its hull shimmering with an iridescent material unknown to Earth science. A crowd of military personnel, scientists, and government officials watched from behind barricades as the vessel's side seemed to melt away, forming an elegant ramp. 3 figures descended. They were tall and thin, with gray-blue skin that seemed almost translucent. Their forearms moved with fluid grace and their large pupilless eyes scanned the assembled humans. Ambassador Thomas Grant stepped forward. He was a tall man with silver hair and the dignified bearing of someone who had spent decades in diplomatic service. 2 military officers flanked him, their expressions carefully neutral despite the extraordinary circumstances. I am Ambassador Thomas Grant. Representing the unified nations of Earth, he said clearly. You have requested this meeting after issuing what we understand to be a declaration of war. I am authorized to receive your message. The central alien stepped forward. Its voice came from a small device at what might have been its throat, translated into precise accentless English. I am High Emissary Kelvar of the Galactic Concord. We have studied your world for decades. Your species has advanced from primitive flight to faster-than-light travel in less than a century. Your history is dominated by conflict. Your entertainment glorifies violence. Your resources are dedicated to weaponry even as you reach for the stars. The Concord has determined that allowing your species to spread further into the galaxy presents an unacceptable risk. Ambassador Grant listened without interruption. When the alien finished speaking, a small smile appeared on his face. The High Emissary tilted its head. You find our declaration amusing? Not amusing, High Emissary, informative. Grant's smile remained. You've told us a great deal about the Galactic Concord with this declaration. We have told you nothing except our intention. Grant's smile widened slightly. You've told us that you fear us. The alien's posture stiffened. The Concord fears nothing. We have united thousands of worlds under our banner. Our technology is millennia beyond yours. And yet, Grant said calmly, you felt the need to bring a warship larger than our largest city to deliver a message. You felt the need to declare war on a species that has barely left its solar system. That speaks of fear, High Emissary, not strength. Murmurs ran through the human delegation. The alien delegation conferred briefly in sounds too high for human ears to properly detect. Your confidence is misplaced, Ambassador. The High Emissary finally responded. We have given you the courtesy of formal notice. Preparations for your integration or removal will begin immediately. Grant's smile never faltered. Perhaps before you commit your resources, you should learn more about humans, about our history, about what happens when someone tells us what we cannot do. The High Emissary studied Grant's face. Your expression. It is what humans call a smile. We know this is used to express pleasure or amusement. Your reaction isn't unexpected. We humans smile for many reasons, High Emissary. Sometimes we smile because we've just learned something valuable about an opponent. And what have you learned, Ambassador Grant? Grant took a step closer to the alien delegation, his smile now showing teeth. That you've made a serious miscalculation. The High Emissary's translator was silent for several moments. We will see. You have 7 of your days to prepare your leaders for the formal surrender proceedings. We are not without mercy. Then I will see you in 7 days, High Emissary, Grant replied, his smile unwavering. I look forward to continuing our discussion. As the aliens returned to their shuttle, Admiral Wilson moved to Grant's side. What exactly are we going to do in 7 days? Grant watched the alien vessel rise silently into the sky. We're going to teach them about humanity, Admiral, starting with a history lesson they won't forget. Behind them, scientists, military personnel, and government officials were already rushing to implement emergency protocols. Around the world, factories converted to military production, research laboratories worked around the clock, and military units mobilized. And throughout it all, Ambassador Grant's confident smile became the symbol broadcast on news channels worldwide. When asked why he smiled in the face of such an overwhelming threat, his answer was simple. Because they don't know who they're dealing with. But they will. When the galaxy announced war, Earth's smile said everything. Part 2. The History. The 7 days given by the Galactic Concord passed quickly. Earth's governments worked together with an efficiency never before seen in human history. Old rivalries were set aside in the face of extinction. Professor Alex Morgan hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night since the aliens arrived. As one of Earth's preeminent historians specializing in warfare and conflict resolution, he had been summoned to help prepare for the next meeting with the Concord representatives. They think they understand us based on monitoring our broadcasts and studying our history, he told the assembled. World leaders in the underground command center beneath Geneva, but they've made a fundamental error in their analysis. Which is? Asked the German chancellor. They've mistaken our capacity for violence as our preference, Morgan explained, running a hand through his disheveled gray hair. They don't understand that humans fight hardest when backed into a corner. Ambassador Grant nodded. That's exactly the angle I want to pursue with them. We need to make them understand what happens when humanity faces extinction. Captain Lydia Reyes entered the conference room, her uniform crisp despite the chaos of the past week. As commander of the UES Pathfinder, Earth's first true interstellar vessel, she had spent the last 7 days overseeing a massive retrofit of her ship. "The modifications are complete, Ambassador," she reported. "The Pathfinder looks like a simple diplomatic vessel from the outside, but she's now carrying our most advanced weaponry and defensive systems, which won't mean much against their technology," Admiral Wilson pointed out. "Perhaps not," Reyes acknowledged, "but it's what's hidden that matters. The stealth shuttles are loaded and ready, crewed by our best special forces teams." Raj Patel, Ambassador Grant's assistant, looked up from his tablet. "The Concorde mothership has just launched another shuttle. Same trajectory as before." Grant straightened his tie. "Then it's time to give them their history lesson." This time the meeting took place inside the United Nations building. The 3 alien representatives were escorted to the Security Council chamber, where Ambassador Grant waited with Professor Morgan, Captain Reyes, and Diplomat Patel. "High Emissary," Grant greeted the lead alien with the same smile he had worn at their first meeting. "I trust the past week has given you time to reconsider your position?" The High Emissary's forearms moved in a complex gesture. "The Conquered does not reconsider. We have come to accept your surrender and discuss the terms of your species' containment." "Actually," Grant replied, "we've prepared a special presentation for you first. A proper introduction to humanity." Professor Morgan stepped forward. "I am Professor Alex Morgan, historian of human conflict. Before you proceed with your plans, we believe it's important you understand what you're truly facing." The aliens exchanged glances but made no objection. Morgan activated the room's holographic system, and the chamber darkened. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. Morgan began as images appeared showing early humans tracking prey across African plains. When other predators would give up after a short chase, we would follow for days, walking our prey to exhaustion. The images shifted to show ancient battles, medieval wars, and modern conflicts. Throughout our history, we have fought each other, yes, but in doing so, we have mastered the art of warfare in ways your analysts have failed to appreciate. For the next hour, Morgan guided the aliens through humanity's military history, focusing not on the brutality, but on the ingenuity and resilience demonstrated time and again. "When outmatched technologically, we adapt," he explained, showing how guerrilla tactics had defeated superior forces throughout history. "When outnumbered, we innovate," he continued, displaying images of how technological breakthroughs had often come during humanity's darkest hours. "And when threatened with extinction," Morgan concluded, his voice solemn, "we unite." The High Emissary seemed unimpressed. "This history only confirms our assessment. You are dangerous and unpredictable." Captain Reyes stepped forward next. "I am Captain Lydia Reyes of the United Earthship Pathfinder, and I think you've underestimated just how unpredictable we can be." She activated her own presentation. 15 years ago, we achieved faster-than-light travel using technology we developed independently. What you don't know is that wasn't our only breakthrough. The holographic display showed Earth's seemingly modest space fleet. Our ships appear primitive compared to yours, Reyes acknowledged, but appearances can be deceiving. With a gesture, she changed the display to reveal internal schematics of Earth's vessels, showing weapon systems and defensive capabilities far beyond what the Concorde had believed possible. "We've been preparing for first contact for generations," Reyes explained. "Not because we wanted war, but because we understood the universe might not be friendly." The High Emissary's posture had changed slightly, its body language harder to read but suggesting increased tension. "These capabilities were not detected in our scans," it said. "No," Reyes agreed with a small smile that matched Grant's. "They weren't." Diplomat Raj Patel stepped forward next. His specialty was interspecies relations, and he had been instrumental in establishing Earth's first contacts with other spacefaring races. "What may interest you most, High Emissary, is not what we've built, but who we've met." Patel activated a new display showing star maps. These mark the locations of every non-human species we've made contact with in the past 15 years. The map showed dozens of points of light, far more than the Conquered had believed humans had encountered. "Many of these species told us about the Galactic Conquered," Patel continued, "about how you classify worlds, how you decide which species deserve representation and which deserve containment. These lesser species are not members of the conquered because they have not achieved the necessary level of civilization, the High Emissary stated, or because their definitions of civilization differ from yours, Patel countered. We've established trade agreements and mutual defense pacts with 27 spacefaring cultures that your Concord has dismissed or overlooked. This revelation clearly disturbed the alien delegation. The three visitors conferred among themselves in their high-pitched language. Ambassador Grant allowed them their private discussion before speaking again. There's one more thing you should know, High Emissary. We've been monitoring Concord communications for years. This statement caused the aliens to freeze in their discussion. Impossible, stated the High Emissary. Our encryption is very good, Grant acknowledged. But not perfect. Nothing is perfect. The truth was that Earth had only managed to decode a small fraction of Concord communications, but the aliens didn't need to know that. You've been preparing for this confrontation for some time, the High Emissary said, its tone flat through the translator. We've been preparing to meet the galaxy on our own terms, Grant corrected. Whether that meeting is peaceful or not was always going to be up to the galaxy, not us. The High Emissary stood straighter. The Conquered will discuss this new information. Our assessment of your species may require adjustment. Take all the time you need, Grant replied with that same unwavering smile. We've already waited thousands of years to join the galactic community. A few more days won't matter. As the alien delegation returned to their shuttle, Admiral Wilson joined Grant by the window overlooking the plaza. Do you think they believed it? The Admiral asked quietly. They believed enough, Grant replied. And what they didn't believe, they now doubt. Doubt is our ally right now. And if they decide to attack anyway? Grant's smile faded for the first time since the aliens had arrived. Then they'll learn that everything we showed them today was just the beginning. Humanity has been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone. As the alien shuttle rose into the sky, news channels around the world broadcast the image of Earth's leaders standing united at the UN building, their faces resolute. The fear that had gripped humanity for the past week began to transform into something else: determination. On the conquered mothership, the High Emissary delivered its report to the Supreme Commander. The humans are more advanced than our initial assessment indicated, and they claim alliances with species we have designated as non-threatening. The Supreme Commander processed this information. Are they bluffing? Unknown. But their confidence suggests either they have capabilities we have not detected, or they are employing psychological tactics to delay our action. Either possibility is concerning, the Supreme Commander concluded. Prepare a more thorough assessment of human military capabilities, and verify these claimed alliances with lesser species. If humans have indeed been unifying our designated non-threatening species, this presents a new complication. As the massive alien vessel hung in space beyond Neptune's orbit, activity aboard increased. Smaller scout ships deployed to observe Earth's defenses more closely. Communication arrays recalibrated to detect the encryption methods humans might be using to monitor Concord transmissions. And on Earth, behind the confident smiles presented to the alien visitors, humanity prepared for war while hoping for peace. The greatest gamble in human history had begun, with the survival of the species as the stakes. And when the galaxy announced war, Earth's smile said everything. Narration, Part 3. The Strategy. 3 days after the second meeting with the Galactic Conquered representatives, Earth received the news it had been dreading. A small research outpost on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, reported that it was under attack. General Marcus Hayes stood in the newly established Earth Defense Command Center, watching the live feed from Titan with a grim expression. The outpost's cameras showed sleek alien vessels firing precision weapons at key infrastructure. They're testing us, he said to the assembled military and civilian leaders. This isn't a full attack. They're probing our defenses, seeing how we respond. The president nodded. Then let's show them something interesting. Activate the Titan protocols. Dr. Olivia Parker, lead scientist of Earth's defense program, stepped forward. A brilliant physicist who had dedicated her career to developing protective technologies, she had been waiting for this moment. Titan defense grid coming online now, she announced, her fingers flying across her control panel. On the screens, a shimmering energy field suddenly enveloped the Titan outpost. The next shots from the alien vessels dissipated harmlessly against it. "Shield technology," murmured one of the alien observers who had been permitted to remain on Earth as part of ongoing diplomatic efforts. But our intelligence indicated humans had not yet mastered energy barrier systems. Ambassador Grant, standing nearby, simply smiled. The alien vessels attacking Titan withdrew almost immediately, clearly surprised by the unexpected defense. Within hours, similar attacks were reported at human outposts on Mars, Europa, and in Earth orbit, each time shields activated, protecting the installations from serious damage. In the Defense Command Center, Commander David Wright, leader of Earth's Special Operations Forces, reported in from his stealth vessel positioned near the conquered mothership. "They're confused," he told General Hayes through the secure channel. "We're monitoring their communications, and while we can't translate everything, their tone and increased transmission frequency suggest they're reassessing their approach." "Good," Hayes replied. "Maintain position but do not engage unless attacked directly. Remember, we're still trying to avoid all-out war if possible." For 2 tense days, the Concord forces continued their probing attacks, gradually increasing in intensity. Earth's defenses held, but the strain was beginning to show. Emergency power systems were engaged at several outposts as the shields drained their regular power supplies. In the Defense Command Center, Dr. Parker worked frantically to optimize the shield systems. "We can maintain this level of defense for another 72 hours at most," she reported. "After that, the power systems will start failing." General Hayes nodded. "Then it's time for Phase 2. Commander Wright, you are authorized to proceed." On his stealth vessel, Commander Wright acknowledged the order. "Understood, General. Strike teams are ready." Wright's vessel was one of 20 stealth ships that had been positioned around the Concorde mothership and its supporting fleet. Each carried a team of Special Forces soldiers specifically trained for space operations and alien encounters. "Remember your training," Wright told his teams over the comm system. "We're not there to destroy or kill. Our mission is infiltration, information gathering, and strategic system disruption." The stealth ships silently approached the alien vessels. Using technology reverse-engineered from previous alien encounters, they were able to bypass the Concorde's perimeter sensors. Small teams in specialized spacesuits exited their ships and attached themselves to the hulls of the alien vessels. Each team carried specific objectives. Some were to access communication systems, others to study weapon configurations, and others to plant specialized devices designed to interfere with alien technology. Commander Wright led the team targeting the mothership itself. Using cutting tools designed to work on unknown materials, they created an entry point through a section of the hull that their scans indicated was less monitored. Inside the massive vessel, Wright and his team moved with practiced silence. The alien corridors were vast, clearly designed for beings larger than humans. They encountered few crew members as the Concorde vessels were highly automated. "Remember, non-lethal responses only," Wright reminded his team as they approached a group of aliens. The humans deployed sound-based weapons that affected the aliens' sensitive hearing apparatus, incapacitating them without permanent harm. As planned, Wright's team reached a central data processing node. They attached a specialized device designed by Dr. Parker, which began copying and transmitting alien technical data back to Earth, while simultaneously introducing subtle errors into the Concorde's tactical systems. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Hayes watched as reports came in from the other strike teams. 17 teams have successfully infiltrated their targets, he announced to the command center. "We have access to partial Concorde battle plans and technical specifications." Dr. Parker was already analyzing the incoming data. "Their shield technology is similar to ours in principle but far more advanced," she reported. "However, there's an oscillation pattern we might be able to exploit." The operation was proceeding perfectly until an alarm sounded on one of the smaller Concorde vessels. One of the strike teams had been detected. Within minutes, security alerts spread throughout the Concorde fleet. "Extraction Plan Alpha," Commander Wright ordered over the secure channel. "All teams complete your objectives and withdraw immediately." On Earth, General Hayes watched the situation unfold with increasing tension. "Status of Commander Wright's team?" he asked. "Still inside the mothership," came the reply. "Communication is intermittent due to the ship's internal interference fields." Inside the mothership, Wright and his team were moving rapidly toward their extraction point, pursued by alien security forces. Unlike the probing attacks on human outposts, which had been designed to test rather than destroy, the aliens inside the mothership were using lethal force. "They're hurting us," Wright realized as another corridor ahead was sealed off. "They're driving us toward some kind of containment area." Making a quick decision, he directed his team to a maintenance shaft they had identified during their infiltration. Change of plans. "We're going to show them how humans adapt." Rather than heading to their planned extraction point, the team moved deeper into the ship, toward what their scans had identified as an auxiliary control center. If they couldn't escape, they would create a bigger distraction. On Earth, the command center lost contact with Wright's team entirely. "Should we abort the operation?" asked one of the officers. General Hayes considered for a moment before shaking his head. "No, Commander Wright knows the mission parameters. Trust him to complete his objective." 3 hours later, as the command center was preparing to acknowledge the probable loss of Wright's team, alarms sounded throughout the conquered fleet. Multiple systems began failing simultaneously. Life support fluctuated. Weapon systems went offline, and internal security barriers deactivated. In the resulting chaos, not only did Wright's team escape, but they brought with them something no one had expected. 3 alien crew members who claimed to represent a faction within the Conquered that opposed the war with Earth. As the strike teams returned to Earth, the Conquered mothership withdrew to a more distant position beyond Pluto's orbit. The probing attacks on human outposts ceased. In the Defense Command Center, General Hayes debriefed Commander Wright. "It was never about destroying their technology," Wright explained. "It was about demonstrating that we could reach them anywhere, that no system is impenetrable." The alien defectors were being carefully interviewed by Dr. Parker and her team. They revealed that the Concord was not as unified as it appeared. Many species within the coalition had argued against confronting humans directly, suggesting instead a gradual approach to integration. "The attack on your outpost was not unanimously approved," one defector explained through a translation device. "Some on the High Council believed humans should be offered membership rather than subjugation." General Hayes brought this information to Ambassador Grant and the President. "So, there are cracks in their unity," the President observed. "More than cracks," Hayes replied. "According to these defectors, the Conquered is built on a rigid hierarchy, with the founding species holding most of the power. Many of the newer members resent this arrangement but have lacked the strength to challenge it." Grant's ever-present smile widened slightly. "Then we've just given them the opportunity they've been waiting for." Dr. Parker entered with her latest analysis of the data retrieved from the Conquered vessels. "Their technology is impressive but not incomprehensible," she reported. "And I've found something interesting about their communication systems. They're designed for efficiency, not security. If we can access their main network, we can speak directly to every species in the Conquered," Grant finished for her. The President looked thoughtful. "A divided enemy is easier to defeat, or to make peace with." For the next 48 hours, Earth prepared for the Conquered's response to the infiltration. Military forces remained on high alert, and the shield systems around key installations were reinforced using insights gained from the stolen alien data. But instead of resuming attacks, a communication arrived from the mothership. The High Emissary requested another meeting. When the galaxy announced war, Earth's smile said everything. Part 4. The Alliance Director Sofia Martinez watched the meeting aboard the International Space Station through a secure feed in her office at Earth's Diplomatic Corps headquarters. As the head of humanity's interspecies relations efforts, she had spent years preparing for this moment. The meeting between Ambassador Grant and the High Emissary was proceeding more cordially than anyone had expected. The infiltration of conquered vessels had clearly made an impression. "Your species has demonstrated unexpected capabilities," the High Emissary acknowledged through its translator. "The Conquered Council has authorized me to offer revised terms." "We're not interested in terms of surrender," Grant replied, his now famous smile firmly in place. "We're interested in terms of peace." The High Emissary's forearms performed a complex gesture that its species used to indicate reluctant agreement. "Then perhaps we can discuss terms of coexistence." As the negotiation unfolded, Martinez turned to her assistant. "It's time to activate our network. Send the signal." Across the galaxy on planets the Concord considered insignificant or primitive, hidden human envoys received Martinez's message. For years, Earth had been quietly establishing relationships with species overlooked or subjugated by the conquered. Now those relationships would prove their value. On the desert world of Talos IV, Representative Emily Torres stepped out of her modest dwelling and approached the council of elder Talosians. "My friends," she said in their clicking language, "the time has come to claim your independence from the conquered. Earth stands ready to support you." Similar conversations were taking place on 27 other worlds. Each envoy carried the same message. Earth was challenging the Concord's dominance, and any species that wished to break free from their control would have humanity's support. Back on Earth, engineer Robert Jackson supervised the loading of specialized weapon systems onto transport ships. As the designer of cross-species technology, he had created weapons that could be used effectively by beings with vastly different physiologies. "These phase rifles are adjusted for Talosian grip structures," he explained to the loading crew, "and these shield generators are calibrated for Nexian environmental conditions. Every piece has been custom designed for our allies." Martinez received updates from across the galaxy as one after another. Previously silent species began to stand against their Concord overseers. On some worlds it was a peaceful transition, with local Concord representatives simply being asked to leave. On others, conflict erupted as the Concord tried to maintain control. "The Mariac system is completely free of Concord influence," reported one envoy. "Their orbital defense grid is now under local control." "The Talosians have secured their planet," reported Torres. "They're requesting the promised defense technologies." Martinez relayed these developments to Ambassador Grant during a brief recess in his negotiations with the High Emissary. "The coalition is forming. Faster than we anticipated," she told him via secure channel. 23 species have already declared independence from the conquered." Grant's smile, visible even through the somewhat grainy transmission, widened slightly. "Excellent. Make sure the High Emissary becomes aware of this. Organically. We want them to realize what's happening without thinking it was our plan all along." As if on cue, a junior Concord officer interrupted the meeting aboard the ISS. The High Emissary received a report in its native language, its posture stiffening noticeably. "You have been busy, Ambassador," it said when the officer departed. "While we discuss peace here, your species foments rebellion throughout the galaxy." Grant maintained his calm demeanor. "We've done nothing but offer friendship to species who were tired of being treated as inferiors. If your Concord was truly the beneficial unifying force you claim, they wouldn't be so eager to break away." The High Emissary's translator was silent for several moments. "The Conquered has maintained peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. Peace through hierarchy isn't true peace," Grant countered. "It's just a polite form of subjugation." On Earth, Engineer Jackson finished loading the last transport vessel. "All ships are ready, Director Martinez. Weapons and defense systems for all 27 allied species are prepared for delivery." Martinez nodded. "Launch immediately. Our allies need to know we keep our promises." The transport fleet departed Earth orbit escorted by military vessels. They split into smaller groups, each headed to a different allied world. Jackson traveled with the ship bound for Talos IV, eager to oversee the installation of the defense systems he had designed. When his ship arrived, he found the Talosians already in conflict with a conquered security force. The desert-dwelling aliens were fierce fighters but outmatched by conquered technology. "Deploy the shield generators first," Jackson ordered as his team rushed to unload their cargo. "Then distribute the phase rifles." Within hours, the balance of power on Talos IV shifted dramatically. The Talosian fighters, now equipped with human-designed weapons compatible with their unique physiology, pushed back the Concord forces. When the portable shield generators activated, creating protective bubbles around key Talosian settlements, the Concord commander ordered a retreat. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as Earth's technology allowed previously subjugated species to assert their independence. It wasn't that human technology was superior to the Conquered's. In most ways, it wasn't, but it was adaptable in ways the standardized Conquered systems were not. Aboard the ISS, negotiations continued despite the growing crisis facing the Concord. The High Emissary received increasingly urgent reports from across its territory. "Your strategy becomes clear, Ambassador," it finally said. You seek to dismember the Concord by encouraging dissent among the lower tiers. We seek to replace hierarchy with partnership, Grant corrected. Every species in this galaxy deserves the right to determine its own future. Back on Earth, Director Martinez convened an emergency meeting with representatives from all the human nations. The Concord is mobilizing its main battle fleet, she announced. They're abandoning diplomacy and preparing for full-scale war. The president looked grim. Can our allies stand against such force? Not alone, Martinez acknowledged. But together, coordinated with Earth's forces, we have a fighting chance. She activated the holographic display in the center of the conference room, showing the positions of newly independent worlds and the approaching conquered fleet. We need to act quickly. I propose we establish a formal alliance. Not just mutual defense pacts with individual species, but a true coalition of equals. The assembled leaders debated briefly before reaching consensus. The president nodded to Martinez. Make it happen, Director. Within hours, Martinez was addressing representatives from all 27 allied species via a secure quantum communication network engineer Jackson had designed. The Conquered is coming, with their full might, she told them. They would rather destroy us all than accept a new order in the galaxy. We must stand together or we will fall separately. The response was unanimous. Every species, from the desert-dwelling Telosians to the aquatic Nexians, pledged to join what would become known as the Galactic Alliance. Humanity does not seek to replace the Conquered as rulers of the galaxy, Martinez assured them. We seek partnership, where each species contributes according to their abilities and benefits according to their needs. As the newly formed alliance prepared for the coming conflict, Representative Torres worked tirelessly on Talos 4 to coordinate defense strategies with the local leadership. We must use the terrain to our advantage, she explained, pointing to the vast desert canyons that characterize the Telosian homeland. The Conquered relies on standardized tactics. They don't adapt well to unique environments. The Telosian elders clicked their agreement. For too long, we accepted their claim that uniformity brings strength, said the chief elder. You humans have shown us that diversity is the true source of strength. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place as humans helped each allied species develop defense strategies tailored to their unique environments and abilities. Engineer Jackson, meanwhile, had returned to Earth to oversee the final phase of his most ambitious project. In orbit around Earth, shipyards that had been hidden from Concord observation were now working at full capacity. The Harmony fleet will be ready just in time, he reported to Martinez and the president. 20 vessels, each designed to be operated by mixed crews of humans and our allies. The ships of the Harmony fleet were unlike anything Earth had built before. Each incorporated technology and design elements from multiple species, creating vessels that were neither human nor alien, but something new entirely. They're beautiful, the president said, watching through a viewport as the first ship completed its final tests. And more importantly, they're unexpected, Jackson added. The Conquered has no experience fighting against ships like these. As the Conquered battle fleet approached the outer reaches of what had been their territory, they encountered the first elements of the Alliance forces. The battle began near the Mariac system, where orbital platforms once used by the Conquered to monitor the lesser species now served as defensive positions for the Alliance. Martinez received the reports in the Strategic Command Center. The Mariac's defenses are ho. When the galaxy announced war, Earth's smile said everything. Part 5. The Resolution President Victoria Adams stood at the viewport in the Earth Alliance flagship, watching the stars streak by as the vessel moved at faster-than-light speeds toward the final confrontation. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Conquered had declared war on humanity, and the conflict had transformed into something no one could have predicted. Status report. Admiral, she requested. Admiral Wilson, who had been given command of the combined Alliance fleet, looked up from the tactical display. The Conquered has pulled back to their core systems. Their High Council is divided on how to proceed. Our intelligence suggests that nearly a third of their member species have either joined our alliance or declared neutrality. The president nodded thoughtfully. And our losses? Wilson's expression grew somber. Significant, Madam President. We've lost 17 outposts and 3 colony worlds. The Telosians lost their secondary continent. The Nexians have been driven from 2 of their oceanic settlements. But we're still advancing, she noted. Yes, their technological advantage remains, but our adaptability and the diversity of our tactics have consistently given us the edge in prolonged engagements. The war had spread across dozens of star systems. What had begun as a conflict between Earth and the Conquered had evolved into a struggle between 2 fundamentally different visions of galactic civilization. The Conquered's rigid hierarchy versus the Alliance's cooperative partnership of equals. On the bridge of the flagship, representatives from 15 different species worked together, each contributing their unique perspectives and abilities. This integration of diverse approaches had become the Alliance's greatest strength. "We're receiving a transmission from High Commander Varric," announced the communications officer. "It's directed personally to you, Madam President." High Commander Varric had taken control of the Concord forces 3 months into the war, after the previous leadership had failed to quickly subdue the rebellion. Known for his tactical brilliance and unwavering commitment to Concord supremacy, he had been a formidable opponent. "Put him through," the President directed. The view screen activated, showing a tall, imposing figure with the characteristic forearms and gray-blue skin of the Concord's founding species. Unlike the High Emissary, who had always maintained a diplomatic demeanor, High Commander Varric made no attempt to hide his disdain. "President Adams," he began without preamble. "This conflict has gone on long enough. You have caused incalculable damage to the stability of the galaxy." President Adams met his gaze steadily. "Commander Varric, we did not start this war. The Concord declared war on Earth without provocation, based on prejudice and fear. And now we are prepared to end it," Varric replied. "I am authorized to offer terms." Admiral Wilson exchanged glances with the President. This was unexpected. Intelligence had indicated that the Concord leadership was still committed to total victory. "We're listening," the President said cautiously. "Concord will recognize Earth and its immediate colonies as sovereign territory. The species that have aligned with you will be granted increased autonomy within the Concord structure. In exchange, you will cease all military operations against Concord forces and withdraw to your recognized boundaries." The President considered for a moment before responding. "Your offer is noted, Commander. However, it fails to address the fundamental issue. The Alliance doesn't seek special status for Earth or limited autonomy for our allies. We seek a complete restructuring of galactic governance where all species have equal standing." Varric's expression hardened. "That is unacceptable. The Conquered has maintained peace for millennia through proper hierarchical order. Yet here we are at war," the President pointed out. "If your system worked as well as you claim, we wouldn't be having this conversation." After the communication ended, President Adams called a meeting of the Alliance Leadership Council. Representatives from all 27 allied species gathered in the flagship's conference room, either in person or via secure holographic projection. "The Concord is offering terms," she informed them. "But they still don't understand what we're fighting for. They see this as a rebellion to be quelled with limited concessions, not a fundamental challenge to their entire system." The Telosian elder clicked thoughtfully before speaking through a translator. "They cannot comprehend equality because their civilization has never practiced it. Their founding species has always stood above the rest." "Then we must make them understand," said the Nexian representative, her voice bubbling through the water chamber that sustained her aquatic physiology. "Not through words, but through demonstration." The Alliance Council debated strategy for hours. Some argued for accepting the Concord's terms as a temporary measure, giving the Alliance time to build strength for future confrontation. Others insisted on pressing the advantage while the Concord was on the defensive. In the end, it was Ambassador Grant who proposed the solution that all could agree on. Having been released from the ISS early in the conflict as part of a prisoner exchange, he had become the Alliance's chief diplomat. "We don't need to defeat the Concord entirely," he explained. "We need to defeat their idea of natural hierarchy. And for that we need to target their founding myth. According to Concord history, their founding species had been chosen by the galaxy itself to bring order to chaos. This quasi-religious belief underpinned their claim to rightful leadership. Their capital world, Astra Prime, contains the Hall of Ascension, where this supposed selection took place," Grant continued. "It's their most sacred site. If we can take control of it, not to destroy but to open to all species, we strike at the heart of their ideology." The plan was ambitious and dangerous. Astra Prime was deep in conquered territory, protected by their most powerful defense systems. But if successful, it would be a symbolic victory that could break the psychological foundation of conquered superiority. Admiral Wilson developed the battle plan. The main Alliance fleet would engage conquered forces in the Centauri sector, drawing their primary defenses away from Astra Prime. Meanwhile, a smaller, faster task force led by the flagship would make a direct assault on the conquered capital. This is a significant gamble, the Admiral warned. If our diversion fails, we'll face the full might of the conquered defense fleet with limited forces. Sometimes the boldest move is also the safest, the President replied, because it's the last thing your opponent expects. The battle for the Centauri sector began 3 days later. Alliance forces engaged the Concorde in what appeared to be an all-out offensive to secure a critical supply route. The Concorde responded as expected, committing the bulk of their remaining fleet to defend the sector. While that battle raged, President Adams and Admiral Wilson led the strike force on a dangerous hyperspace, jumped directly to Astra Prime. The maneuver required plotting a course through unstable space that the Concorde considered too dangerous to traverse, another example of human willingness to take calculated risks. The strike force emerged from hyperspace in orbit around Astra Prime, catching the minimal defensive forces completely by surprise. Within hours, Alliance landing craft were descending toward the surface, targeting the government district where the Hall of Ascension stood. On the surface, Commander David Wright led the ground forces. The fighting was intense but brief, as most of Astra Prime's military had been deployed to the Centauri sector. By the time High Commander Varric received word of the attack on the capital, Alliance forces had already secured the Hall of Ascension. President Adams, protected by a security detail, walked up the steps of the imposing structure. Built from a luminescent crystal native to Astra Prime, the hall was a stunning achievement of architecture, with soaring arches that seemed to defy gravity. Inside, she found exactly what intelligence had described: a vast chamber dominated by a raised dais where, according to Concord legend, representatives of the founding species had received their mandate to rule from mysterious galactic elders who had since departed the known universe. Secure the perimeter and prepare for broadcast, she ordered. Alliance technicians quickly set up equipment that would allow her message to be transmitted across all Concord communication channels. High Commander Varric, having abandoned the battle in the Centauri sector, arrived in orbit around Astra Prime with a hastily assembled rescue fleet, but it was too late. The Alliance had established a defensive perimeter around the planet, and breaking through would require a prolonged battle that would cause massive destruction to the conquered sacred capital. The humans have taken the Hall of Ascension, reported his second-in-command, disbelief evident in his voice. Varric stared at the tactical display, his 4 hands clenched in frustration. How? How did they penetrate our defenses so easily? They used the Valtari corridor, Commander. Our navigational protocols classify it as impassable due to gravitational anomalies. Yet they passed, Varric said quietly. This was the story of the entire conflict. Where the conquered saw impossibility, humans saw opportunity. Where the conquered relied on established doctrine, the Alliance innovated. On the surface, President Adams began her broadcast. Her image was transmitted to every conquered world, every military vessel, and every outpost. People of the galaxy, I speak to you from the Hall of Ascension on